I never thought a simple walk down my own hallway could feel like walking a tightrope. It started one evening, as I shuffled past my neighbor's door, headphones in, pretending not to notice the faint light spilling out. A voice called from behind the door, soft, but sharp enough to make me jump. "You keep passing by my door," she said. I froze. My heart skipped a beat, and for a moment I couldn't even respond. The words weren't accusatory, not exactly. They were curious, almost expectant. But the way she said them made me feel like I'd been caught doing something I shouldn't have, though I wasn't even sure what that was. I wanted to laugh it off, to shrug and walk away, but something in her tone made me pause. Maybe it was the way the light flickered across the narrow hallway, or the shadow she cast behind the door, stretching like it wanted to reach for me. I guess I just hoped you'd open it," I finally said, and immediately regretted it. My words sounded clumsy in the quiet, and I could almost hear my own heartbeat echoing off the walls. There was a pause, a silence so heavy I could hear the hum of the old heating system in the building, the occasional squeak of a floorboard far down the hall, and then the soft click of the door latch. I froze again, unsure if I wanted her to actually open it. But curiosity got the better of me. I'd always wondered about her. She'd lived in the apartment next to mine for years, and we had never really spoken. Just polite nods in the elevator, brief hellos that barely grazed the surface of conversation. But that night, standing there, something in the air felt different. Charged. Dangerous, maybe, or just thrilling. I thought about turning back, pretending I hadn't said anything. But some part of me wanted to see what lay behind that door. What she was thinking, what she was hiding, and why she had suddenly noticed me in a way no one else had. I glanced down the hallway, my footsteps echoing softly against the walls, almost daring me to move forward, or to run. My mind raced with possibilities. Was she just lonely? Was she waiting for something? Or someone? I took a slow, measured step closer, and that's when I noticed it. A faint shadow moving across the curtain in the room, like someone, or something, was already there, watching. And that's when I realized this night was going to be nothing like any ordinary evening I'd had before. Something had shifted between us, something I couldn't quite name yet, but I knew one thing for sure. Once that door opened, nothing would ever be the same. And as I stood there, caught between hesitation and curiosity, I had no idea how far I was about to go, or what I might find on the other side. I should probably start by explaining a little about who I am, and why a single hallway could feel like a place full of secrets. My name is Alex. I'm 28, and I've lived in this building for a few years now. Most days, I keep to myself. Work, home, maybe a run or a late-night coffee if I can be bothered. Nothing flashy. Nothing that would make someone stop and notice me. And then there's her, my neighbor. I didn't know her name at first, just the girl next door in my head. She's hard to describe. Early 30s, always impeccably dressed, like she stepped out of a magazine even on lazy days. She had a kind of quiet intensity about her, the kind of person who notices the small details, the books you leave by your door, the rhythm of your footsteps, the way you hesitate before knocking on an elevator button. I never thought much about it, until that night. Before that hallway moment, our interactions had been nothing more than polite acknowledgement. A nod, a small smile, maybe a hello, if the timing was right. That's all. But looking back, I realize I must have passed her door countless times without even realizing she was watching me. Or maybe she was noticing me, silently, for months. Life hadn't been easy for either of us, at least from what little I could piece together. I knew she lived alone, and I had my own ghosts, long nights at a job that barely paid enough to cover rent, a string of friendships that felt more like obligations than support. We were both navigating solitude in our own ways, existing parallel to each other in the same building, sharing the same walls, but never the same space. But that night, everything shifted. When she spoke, there was a tension I hadn't anticipated. Like the calm before a storm, subtle yet electric. Her words, "You keep passing by my door," were simple, but something in her tone hinted at layers beneath the surface, stories neither of us had shared, secrets waiting to be uncovered. And my reply, clumsy as it was, gave her a glimpse of curiosity I didn't even know I had, the kind that can be dangerous when directed at the wrong door. I could feel the energy between us, a push and pull I couldn't explain. There was attraction, yes, but also something darker, something fragile and unpredictable. Maybe it was loneliness, Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe it was something neither of us wanted to name yet. I spent the next few days walking past her door, every step heavier than the last. I'd rehearse what I might say if she spoke again, or if the door opened. And then there were the little hints she left. A shadow lingering in the curtain, a light flickering in the evening, the faint scent of something, lavender, maybe, or smoke, drifting into the hallway. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but I felt it. The kind of feeling that tells you something is about to happen. Something that will change the ordinary rhythm of your life forever. And as I walked past her door that night, each step closer felt like stepping into a story I wasn't ready for, one I couldn't escape from, even if I wanted to. Little did I know, the moment her door opened fully, the truth behind all those silent glances and late-night shadows would begin to unravel, and it would pull me into a world I never imagined existed right next door. The night after our hallway exchange, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her door, slightly ajar in my imagination, the light spilling out like it was inviting me in, or daring me to step back. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, just curiosity, just a coincidence. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized it wasn't that simple. The next evening, I found myself lingering by her door again. My heartbeat raced when I heard a faint creak from inside, like someone shifting their weight, waiting. I almost turned to leave, but something inside me, something reckless, pushed me forward. And then she spoke. Her voice, low and deliberate, came through the slight crack in the door. "You're here again." "Yes," I admitted, my throat dry. I guess I'm just curious." Another pause. This one felt longer, heavier. I imagined her on the other side, studying me, weighing whether to let me cross that invisible boundary. "Curiosity can be dangerous," she said finally, her words carrying a weight I couldn't place. Dangerous. That word hung in the air between us, making the hall feel narrower, colder, tighter. And yet, I couldn't move. There was a pull, a magnetic kind of tension that kept me rooted to the spot. Part of me wanted to step back, to retreat to the safety of my apartment. But another part, the part that was reckless, impatient, and just desperate for connection, wanted to see what she meant. Over the next few days, things got stranger. Notes slipped under the door, small, cryptic messages that made my stomach twist. A single word, "Come," or a question, "Do you know what you're looking for?" They were brief, tantalizing, but impossible to decipher completely. Every time I passed her door, I felt her presence more intensely, like she was both there and not there, watching and waiting. I tried to talk myself out of it. Maybe it was a game. Maybe she was lonely, bored, or playing with me for fun. But the tension in the hallway, the way my own pulse raced when I heard her voice, told me this was no ordinary neighborly interaction. Something bigger was at stake, something I didn't fully understand yet. And then, one night, as I walked past her door and heard a faint sound behind it, a soft, almost melodic whisper, I realized I was no longer just curious. I was in too deep. Whatever was behind that door was pulling me in, and I wasn't sure if I could ever leave. By the time the weekend came, I felt like a stranger in my own building. Every sound echoed like a warning. Footsteps that weren't mine, the faint hum of her apartment light flickering at odd hours, the soft click of doors closing somewhere down the hall. I was consumed. Every choice I made seemed tied to her door, every thought circling back to her presence. That Friday evening, I found myself standing there again, hesitant, my hand hovering near the doorknob. The air felt thicker than usual, heavy with anticipation. And then, as if sensing my hesitation, her voice came through the crack. "I wasn't sure you'd come." I swallowed hard. I couldn't stay away," I admitted. A pause, and then the softest laugh, half amused, half knowing. "Good," she said. "You're braver than I expected." Braver. That word, simple yet loaded, made my chest tighten. The hallway felt narrower, shadows stretching unnaturally along the walls, as though the building itself was holding its breath. I wanted to pull back, to step away and pretend none of this was happening, but every instinct screamed to move forward. I don't remember exactly when the door opened, only that it felt like crossing a line I had been circling for weeks. There she was, standing just inside her apartment, the warm light behind her haloing her figure. Her eyes met mine, calm yet electric, as if she knew exactly what I was thinking, and maybe even what I feared. "Come in," she said, the invitation carrying a weight I couldn't ignore. Stepping inside, I felt a strange mix of exhilaration and dread. Her apartment was unexpectedly intimate, filled with books, soft music playing somewhere in the background, a faint scent I couldn't identify but couldn't stop inhaling. It felt like a safe haven and a trap at once. She gestured toward a small seating area. "Sit," she said. I obeyed, heart hammering in my chest. We were close now, but still distant, a tension hanging between us that made every breath feel electric. For a moment, nothing happened. We simply looked at each other, the silence swelling with unspoken questions. Then she leaned slightly forward, eyes glinting with something I couldn't name. Curiosity, amusement, maybe even a warning. "Do you really want to know why I noticed you?" Before I could answer, the faint sound of a whisper drifted through the room. Not her voice, but something else. Soft, deliberate, almost melodic. I turned my head, and for a heartbeat, I thought I saw a shadow flit across the corner of the room. My pulse raced. Every instinct screamed that something was about to happen, something I couldn't control. And in that instant, I realized this was bigger than curiosity or flirtation. Whatever was behind her door, whatever she had been waiting for, was about to be revealed. And I wasn't sure I was ready for it. I leaned forward, heart hammering, waiting for her to explain, but the words never came. Instead, she stepped aside, gesturing toward the far corner of the room. My eyes followed and froze. There, half hidden in the shadows, was a door I had never noticed before. Not her apartment door, not the front hallway. This was something else entirely. And through the crack, I saw movement. Not human, exactly, but alive. Something shifting, writhing, almost breathing. She smiled, but it wasn't warm anymore. It was sharp, knowing, a smile that carried secrets I wasn't meant to understand. "You've been curious all this time," she said softly. "But curiosity can be dangerous, especially when you don't know what you're walking into." My mind spun. I realized, in that moment, this wasn't just about me or her. This was about something buried, something hidden behind her door for reasons I couldn't imagine, and now I was standing right in front of it. The whispering sound grew louder, closer, like it was coming from inside that dark corner. My pulse raced, my instincts screamed to run, but I couldn't look away. And then she tilted her head, her eyes glinting. "Do you want to see it? Or do you want to walk away before it's too late?" I swallowed hard, my feet rooted to the floor. The dark corner loomed like a living thing, and the whispering inside it grew louder, more insistent, as if it knew I had arrived. My mind screamed at me to turn and run, but something in her eyes, the way she held my gaze, kept me frozen. "Show me," I said, my voice barely more than a whisper. She nodded, almost approvingly, and stepped aside. I edged toward the hidden door, each step heavier than the last. My fingers brushed the handle, cold metal under my skin, and I realized I couldn't back down now. The whispering turned into a low, melodic hum that sent shivers down my spine. With a trembling hand, I pushed the door open. The room beyond was small, dimly lit, and filled with mirrors, dozens of them, reflecting not just the space, but fragments of memories, shadows, and faces I didn't recognize. And in the center, a figure crouched, indistinct, surrounded by faint, glowing symbols on the floor. The air felt thick, almost electric, charged with something ancient and forbidden. She stepped in beside me, close enough that I could feel her breath. "This is why I noticed you," she whispered. "I need someone who sees, who notices, someone I can trust." Before I could respond, the figure stirred, and I realized with a jolt that it wasn't alone. The mirrors rippled, and each reflection showed a version of myself I didn't recognize. Fearful, desperate, curious, reckless, all staring back at me. Panic surged, but she grabbed my hand. "It's not just me," she said, eyes intense. "It's a choice. You can step back or step through." I hesitated, heart racing, until the whispers became voices, pleading, warning, calling. And then the final twist hit me. The figure in the center turned slowly, revealing her face. Only it wasn't her. It was me. The realization slammed into me. She had been showing me a reflection of my own curiosity, my own darkness, and now, whatever lay beyond these mirrors would claim me if I stepped too far. I stood frozen, trapped between fear and desire. knowing that one choice would change everything. And as she smiled knowingly, the mirrors began to shimmer, whispering my name. I took a step back from the mirrors, my hand still gripping hers. My chest heaved, every instinct screaming at me to run, to escape this strange, impossible world she had revealed. But as I looked at her, really looked, I realized something crucial. She hadn't trapped me. She had offered me a choice. You don't have to step through, she said softly, her eyes warm now, no longer sharp with mystery. Curiosity isn't a sin, but knowing when to walk away is wisdom. The mirrors shimmered one last time, the whispering fading into silence. The figure at the center, my reflection, slowly dissolved, leaving only my own face staring back. I felt a strange relief, a release of tension I hadn't known I'd been carrying. I let go of her hand and stepped away from the room, the hallway light greeting me like a breath of air after being underwater. I realized I had been chasing something. Maybe adventure, maybe understanding, but what I truly needed was connection, trust, and a sense of grounding. And she had given me a glimpse of both. We stood there in silence for a moment, just two people in a quiet apartment building, the weight of everything we'd faced lingering between us. Then she smiled, genuine, warm, and said, "Curiosity brought you here. Courage will let you live your life with what you've learned." I nodded, understanding more than words could capture. We didn't need to speak the secrets of the mirrors or the strange room anymore. Those were hers, and they were mine in a way only I could carry forward. As I walked back to my apartment, I felt lighter, yet different. The world felt bigger, stranger, and more full of possibility. And somewhere deep inside, I knew that I had been changed, not by the door, not by the whispers, but by the choice to face the unknown and walk away when the time was right. Days later, we would nod to each other in the hallway, just as we had before, but now it was different. There was a silent understanding, a bond forged in curiosity, suspense, and shared secrets we didn't have to name. I still passed her door, but now with a smile, knowing the world is far stranger and far more wonderful than I could have imagined. And sometimes, late at night, I'd hear the faintest echo of that whispered hum, a reminder of the night I nearly crossed through, and the night I chose myself instead. In the end, curiosity didn't ruin me. It taught me courage. It showed me the beauty of choice, the importance of boundaries, and the quiet strength in walking away with both eyes wide open. And as for her, she remained a mystery, my neighbor, my guide, the keeper of the unseen, but I didn't need answers anymore. Because some doors, I realized, are meant to be glimpsed, not entered.